All right, so I've been working for a couple hours here on the first Fender representing 1886 to 1900, and I've still got some work to do, but it's coming along nicely. Take a couple close. There's an idea of how it's going. You can see that piece over there. It's actually the trunk of a F-150 pickup truck. But last year I worked on various glues and coatings and things. So once the car is completely covered, I will use two different products to seal it and waterproof it. So hopefully it will be relatively weatherproof. Not that I'll try to drive it in the rain, but I could get caught out in the rain in it. Still some work to do here. It's hard to find material from this period. It's probably the hardest period to find material for. So I'm finding it where I can get it and cutting up a bunch of publications and magazines and some Mercedes brochures as well and other Mercedes publications. All right, I'm back here. It's New Year's Day 2024, and this is the progress that I made the other day, a couple days ago, on the front fender here. We're just going to pick up where we left off. I learned some things just doing this front portion as I start, and I'll use a couple of those lessons moving forward. But basically, it seems that it's going to be easier to put some big pieces on in some of these panels and then fill in with the smaller pieces around them. You've really got to get some basic big chunks down to then overlap with the little ones. And there's just a lot of great content. There are a lot of great photos and little anecdotes that I'd like to include, but putting a bunch of little pieces together is proving to be much more difficult than kind of having a base layer of some general information and then being able to follow that up with some little highlight pieces. So I'm continuing in the 1886 to 1900 panel here, and we'll just keep going. I've test fitted this piece, so I know that this is where I want it to go. And I'm going to need to wrap it inside or around the panel here where it meets the door. And it's important that the pieces going over this contour, and especially this body contour, are fairly thin cardstock so they can actually be easily bent around the contour. These pieces are big, very thick sort of art plates. You probably recognize these if you're a fan of some of these Mercedes pieces. It's a set of about 10 plates that Mercedes put out, I think, sometime in the 70s, that a friend of mine gave me years ago. And these were actually a little thick. This one's all right because it's on a flat piece, but I also put that piece over this contour, and that was a bit of a learning experience. We'll see if I repeat that again. And now I'm going to trim this with my X-Acto knife very closely to the door contour. Yeah, that worked beautifully. I'm going to use just a little bit more Mod Podge here to really make sure I get a good seal. Really can't have too much Mod Podge on there, because it will dry clear, and it's also meant to be a coating for general, for craft projects or for decoupaging. I'm going to obviously have to coat this car with the other products that I've talked about previously, so it'll be waterproof. But all right, that's a good little base piece. Nice. All right, we'll check back with you a little bit later as I continue progress on this panel, and today as I go on to the 1900 to 1945 panel right here with some neat images. It's an interesting part of the company's history. Some good years and some not so good years in the late 30s into the 40s.